Everybody, and welcome to Connect to Create. Today is Thursday, June 1st, 2023. I'm Kathy Ondas with Simply Cards by Kathy, and today I have a fun, easy technique known as the grid technique. It actually adds some texture and dimension and some real interest to your card, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways in which you can use it. And I'm sure you'll come up with ways of your own. Now, if you're new to Connect to Create, it is a collaboration between myself and another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and a very good friend, Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair. And hopefully you caught her video last week where she showed us the twisted ribbon technique. What beautiful cards, and I really love that technique. So today we are going to do the grid technique. If you are new to Connect to Create, welcome. We are so happy you're here with us, whether you are with us live or you catch the replay. Thank you for supporting us and helping us grow our channels. And I'm anxious to get started. Now stay with me through to the end because it really is an easy and quick technique. And then I'm going to show you 3 samples in which I use the grid technique for my card making. All right, let's flip this camera down and get started. Okay, hopefully you can see and hear me well. Now for today's technique, we are going to use the scoreboard. I have going to show you 2 different ways in which we can do the grid technique. And then I'm going to show you the cards. So I'm going to bring in my scoreboard. And I have a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 because it's going to be one of my layers. Now I'm going to pull the scoreboard down. And with this, you want your short end to be, I'm going to put mine at 3, and you want the other end to touch the other side where the ruler is. We are going to be using the ruler up across here, and I'm going to show you where we actually score using our scoring tool. And this one I'm going to do every inch. So I'm going to start at 3. And I want to use my wide end because I want the grid to be quite prominent. And I'm just going to score all the way down. I'm going to go over another inch at 4, and I'm going to score all the way down. I'm going to go over to 5 and score all the way down. And I'm going to come over to 6 and do the same. Now I'm not going to go back to the 2-inch mark, and I'm going to score. And again at the 1 inch, and I'm going to score. Now all you do is flip this over and bring this corner to the 3-inch mark. This corner is up against the other grid, and we're going to start scoring here. Again, starting at 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, one suggestion I have for you is to hold your cardstock down with the other hand because you're starting and sliding easily on this plastic, but then I'm not going to do that. But then as you come up onto the cardstock, you can slip or slide and go off the paper or off the line. So here is our first grid. Now you can see, I think that's really pretty. And then if you turn it over, you have the embossed side where this is the debossed side. And you have a whole different outline or grid to use. Isn't that pretty? Now you can use this as white or you can add some color to it. I am going to show you where I added some color to one. And you're able to see it be a little bit more distinct in the lines. So I am going to bring in a color here. And I'm going to bring in my Orchid Oasis. And I'm going to use my brush, and we're just going to ink this up a little bit. And I'm going to start rubbing off and then move right on to my paper that I embossed or made the grid from. Now, it can bring in the lines a little bit darker for you, as you can see. But I'm going to show you what I did with it for another card. And you just keep going, and you can see in here it picks up a little bit more of the color and darkens up that line that you embossed with your scoring tool. Or I should say scored with the scoring tool. But to me, it almost looks like embossing. And then you just keep going until you get it the way you want to. Now, if you wanted, you could probably take your pad and do pad to paper and drag it. But I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't have much luck with that. I had too much like unevenness in the color and some real inky spots, and I really didn't like it. So you can just keep going back and forth until you get the color you want. And I'm not going to continue to do it, but that gives you an idea of what you can do. Okay, now I'm going to show you another one in which if you score it at 1/2 inches, it looks quite a bit different. And you get a whole different pattern. So again, I'm going to bring this to the 3. And I'm just going to go down the center, and we're going to go every 1/2 inch. And you're going to get a different look to this one. So we're at 4 1/2, 5, 5 1/2. And again, recommending you hold your paper down. Again, we're going to go back now to 2 1/2, 2, 1 1/2, 1, and then, whoops, and that's why I recommend you hold your paper down. Let's get to the 1/2 inch, because when you get to it, if you don't hold it down, your paper will slide or your stylus will slide and will make like kind of an erroneous mark on your paper. So I flipped it around to the other corner, and now we're going to do the same thing every 1/2 inch. 4, 5 1/2, and 6. Then I'm going to go back to the 2 1/2, the 2, 1 1/2, 1, and the 1/2 inch. Okay, let's get this out of our way. And I'm going to pick this up and show you. So here's the difference in the two. Doesn't it almost look like a quilted pattern? I really love it. So here's the one at 1 inch, and here's the one at 1 1/2. Now, you can do this on white cardstock. I'm going to show you one where I did it on actually an Orchid Oasis cardstock. You can use it white, you can daub it, you can add some color with your blending brushes, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So let's move these off to the side, and I'm going to bring in my first card. Now the first card I did a fun fold, and I used the daisies. I used my dies. And it was a card that my granddaughter asked me to make for her teacher for the end of the school year. So here I used lemon lolly for my background, but then this is white. And I came in with blending brushes and I used lemon lolly. I used some of the copper clay to add a little bit of color to it. And then I came in with a little bit of the lemon lime twist, which you don't see as much here. But here's the card using, and this was at a 1/2 inch. So there's the first card. Let's set that down. Now the second card I used the textured floral dies, but I used a piece of Orchid Oasis. And this is at 1 inch, you can see, and I flipped the cardstock so it was portrait. But what I did with this one is I came in with a blending brush with Orchid Oasis, and you may or may not be able to see some of the color, but it did accentuate the scored lines so that they are a little bit darker and pick up the color. So here's this one. Now this one is completely different. What I did with this one is I used the Calm and Quiet, which is a host stamp set in the new catalog, and I stamped the large image. I'm going to bring that in just to show you. It's quite a large stamp. I stamped the image and colored it, added a little bit of Tahitian Tide, Balmy Blue with a blending brush on the background. Then I went and put this to the scoring tool and scored my lines after it was stamped and colored. And hopefully you can see it. It just gives it a whole new look with a lot of texture and some dimension to that stamped image. So 3 different ways you can use it. You use it on actually 4. Just use the white, basic white. You can add some color with blending brushes to accentuate the lines. You can use it on colored cardstock, and you can actually stamp your image, color it, and then do the grid technique. So couple different ideas. So let me bring you back to me for a minute. I hope you enjoyed today's grid technique. It really is easy. It doesn't take a lot to do, and it adds a lot of dimension and texture and interest to your cards. So again, if you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and help Pat and I grow our channel. We appreciate your support, and Pat will be back with you next week. I'm not sure what the technique is, but whatever it is, her cards are always gorgeous. So you have a great rest of your week, safe and weekend. Take care, and we'll be back with you next week. Have a great week, everybody.